Why do we sit here being silent, watching our leaders turn into tyrants? Have they forgotten which side they're fighting for? Checks and balances set aside and rule of laws, youth and ours, and Constitution openly ignored. Man, I'm not okay. Think we are being played. Is it time for right and left to join a greater cause? Man, I'm not okay. The rich claim to be victimized just to attack the marginalized. Is 1% really worth more than all the sick and poor? Always preaching about fellowship while planning their dictatorship. Now we've seen how all of this plays out before. Man, I'm not okay. Think we are being played. Time for you and I to join our country's call. Man, I'm not okay. Ever wonder all the mystery? Why they whitewash our history? Keep dividing is their plan. All in all, such a scam. Algorithm very sly, only used to spread the lies. Politicians know well, hate is simple to upsell. Man, I'm not okay. Think we are being played. Time for you and I to join our country's call.
We are not okay. America is not okay, and we all know that. Former Congressman Joe Walsh, this is The Social Contract with Joe Walsh. Let's figure out how to get okay together.
Come on in, everybody. Come on in. Joe, what's with the missing congressman, the guy who hasn't been around forever?
I think there are two of them. There's a Republican from New York.
Yeah.
Who's missing, and Mike Johnson doesn't seem to care where he is. There's an older female Democrat from Texas, I think, who's also missing.
That's very
again, just astounding to me. Representatives, nowhere to be found.
All right, everybody, come on in. You know Joe, I'm Edwin. It's
and the
Thursday.
Speaker of the House doesn't give a damn, Edwin. The Speaker of the House doesn't give a damn. Can't find a congressman. What the fuck?
Well, how about the people who are paying him?
Yeah.
I mean,
I know. Hey,
all right. So, as you guys were coming in, Joe and I were talking about missing congressmen, just vanished.
And by the way, Edwin, I'll follow your lead today, but let me just get this off my chest again, talking about missing congressmen and congresswomen. We've been missing a fucking Congress for 17 months now. I say this at least once a day. This is what America looks like with two branches of government. We have not had a legislative branch. Maybe two.
Well, let's stay with that for a minute. The Congress has, for decades, ceded power left and right to the executive branch until they have none left, until they really have just said, we are the carpet you walk on in order to get to the White House. And that is enormously dangerous. Enormously dangerous.
And Edwin, you're right. And enormously dangerous and the exact opposite of what our founders intended, right?
Exactly.
Like if, just so everybody knows, if Eisendrath and Walsh were around in that founding generation, I can tell you right now, Joe Walsh, founding father, would not have even approved of the office of the presidency. Our founders believed it's the legislative branch, baby. This is the people's branch where damn near all the work needs to be done.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
I had this interesting conversation. I asked somebody, do you think the founders thought the president worked for the American people, or do you think he thought the president worked for Congress?
I think he thought the president they thought the president was like a prime minister role.
Yeah.
Mainly ceremonial and mainly answering to and approving, to your point, what Congress does.
Yeah. Take care to execute the laws that we pass.
And you're right. You've identified the horrible 100-year-old trend we've had. I know FDR is a god with many people, but it didn't begin with FDR, but he ratcheted it up. Congress continuing to cede authority. But Edwin, we've never been here where we've had Congress refuse to be. Like they literally took an oath in January of 25, thank you, to swear and defend Trump. There's no pretense here. They're not defending the Constitution. They're missing, period.
I got nothing good to say about this Congress. I agree with you. But
And by the way, Edwin, that's why more than anything, Democrats have to be given control of the House.
I agree.
If only to reestablish the legislative branch.
Yeah, I agree with that. But Joe, and there are other reasons too, but I agree with you. But look, what's so amazing is you have a Congress that basically would do anything this president asked, although today they balked a little. But all this time they would do anything, but he doesn't even bother asking them. He's like, I'm not going to bother you. I don't care. It doesn't matter that you'll do what I want. I'm not even going to waste time asking. You're beneath that. I mean, this slush fund of his, not only did it say we've got the power of the purse in the White House, Congress doesn't, but it also said the courts don't settle disputes anymore. It just wiped out all the other branches. I am king. I can do whatever I want with your money. It's like,
I think and I believe that this slush fund will not come to be. I think and believe it's illegal, and I think and believe Republicans in Congress are not going to approve it. They won't oppose it. They're just going to ignore it.
Well, but ignoring it doesn't get rid of it. I mean, for all I know, they're sending out money today. I mean, the court hasn't enjoined it yet. And it's done. We're going to do it until somebody actually stops them. And Congress today they had an argument. They met the Senate,
went home.
Instead of stopping it, they went home. Right? They did what they always do. Oh, well, this is terrible. Let's go home.
They went home. And part of the reason they went home, the Senate and the House will follow suit, is these headlines are just fucking wigging them out. They are Republicans, my former colleagues, Edwin, are so up against it right now. Like they don't even want to deal with stuff. They know what's coming in November.
On my face, a word that I can't say on my radio show. They are utterly fucked.
Yes. Yeah. And by the way, do you or I, anybody listening to us, do any of us have any sympathy for Republicans in the Senate and the House? None. All these Senate Republicans just beside themselves that Donald Trump endorsed Ken Paxton. Oh, they're just beside themselves. You know what? They all created this monster. I was on with Jim Acosta a couple days ago. I'm done blaming Trump for any of this. I don't blame Trump for thinking he's God. I don't blame Trump for thinking he's an untouchable. They've created this Frankenstein. Every one of his voters, every one of his followers, every one of my former colleagues in both Congress and right-wing media. They've trained him, Edwin, over the years to believe he can do whatever he wants. So $1.8 billion taxpayer-funded slush fund, I don't blame Trump for thinking he can do that. I blame Republicans, period.
You're a better man than me because I still blame them. And I blame Republicans. There's enough blame to go around.
I agree. But you know what? As bad and horrible a guy as Trump is, can't you kind of see that by now you can understand how he believes he can do anything he wants?
Well, look, if the Republicans in Congress didn't teach him otherwise, the Iranians have. I mean, the world is an interesting place, and he thought he could get away with putting in Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. I mean, it's insane what he thought he was going to do, but he still couldn't do it. So,
And and his approval rating among the American people continues to tank at the same time as his hold on one of our two major political parties continues to strengthen.
although I'm now here, I need your counsel on this because pretty soon, every member of Congress who's there is never going to have a primary while Donald Trump is in office ever again. That threat of Donald Trump taking the base in your primary is about to be gone, right? Because it's going to be gone. No?
No, as long as Trump is alive, he will control the base. And Edwin, I've heard from enough of these guys over the years, even going back to the very beginning, 8 years ago when I publicly turned against Trump. My former colleagues in the House generally told me, Joe, we're not afraid of Trump. We're afraid of his hold on the base. We're afraid of the base. I think if Trump died tomorrow, if he disappeared tomorrow, whatever Trumpism is, it's moved beyond Trump. It's now the base of the party. That's who Republican members have to answer to.
That's interesting. So if you had another Republican president, he would be holding to Trump.
Oh, Edwin,
Wow.
whoever the next Republican nominee and the one after that and the one after that, they're all going to be MAGA/Trumpy because that's what this party is now. And it ain't going
it's
back
too to win
to
anything unless if we got rid of gerrymandering, if we had multi-member districts, if we had ranked choice voting, whatever it is, that kind of that the MAGA problem goes away because they can't elect congressmen.
if I had $1 million, if I had $1 million, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I really am. I think you. No, maybe you don't.
By the way, so does a problem on the left. I mean,
Yeah. I think we're on. I think we are at the end of. I think now the 172-year-old two-party duopoly. I could be off by a few years. I think we're at the end of the two-party duopoly. I believe something's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Another party, and Trump's kind of like just been, as you and I've said before, he's burning our house down, so we're trying to put out the fire. But another party's coming because Edwin, look, I'm a Democrat now 11 months. They're saying they believe in democracy and the rule of law, but man, that party's fucked up. And most Americans are not where that party is right now. They certainly aren't where MAGA is right now. Something's coming. Something's coming.
You and I both said that there is I believe there's a majority in America. I mean, some days you believe it, some days you don't. But I think there is a majority to be had, and a durable one where we have broad agreement.
Where is the majority? It's either center left or center right. It's somewhere in there. Kind of.
Yeah, I mean, it's you have to pick off a menu because it's the old what we captured as center, right, and left. We're trapped in the old party ideas, which is why you couldn't get anywhere. So you have to pick a few from column A and a few from column B, and you end up with something that most people would.
Did you see the New York Times Siena poll that came out today? A poll of Democratic voters, the vast majority of whom believe to win, the party needs to move to the middle. It was either move to the left, move to the middle, or stay where you are. Most Democrats said we got to move to the middle. And again, that's kind of the old paradigm, but I think what they're saying is a super far left or a crazy far right, that ain't going to carry the majority of the country.
Look, when the house is burning down,
yes,
you want to focus on the house and the fire and what you can do to put it out. That there, whether or not, but both. I don't want to say the issues that the far left and the far right care about are irrelevant. But it's like if the house is burning down, their issues are like, what do you think the landscaping should look like in the yard?
Bingo.
On either side. Not an unimportant question, and it's really important to the landscapers. I don't want to make light of it, but the house is burning down. You focus on these issues.
I'm not. where most Democrats are when it comes to, say, taxation. But fuck that, right? Right now, it's about saving our democracy,
I agree with
period.
that.
Yeah.
And on that taxation question, um,
I,
I,
I
if
knew
you're a
you.
billionaire, the country is coming for you because you came for us. You came for us.
Explain that. I like where you're going, but explain that. Who are
Well,
you
okay.
talking about?
I'm talking about the class that made their deals to keep Donald Trump in for their corrupt business deals. Um, Outrageous, absolutely outrageous. And
By
they
the way,
said, "Oh, go ahead."
I was just going to say, by the way, everybody listening to us, I fucking love it when Edwin Eisendrath gets wound up and passionate about something. Look, your entire facial expression
I
changed.
do
I
get
love it.
wound up sometimes. And by the way, Joe, the the big tax cuts that we did not create economic growth for everybody, did not make everybody's life better, which was the theory. Maybe in 1980, when we had a very different tax scheme, you made some changes, and that money did actually begin to make some difference in the economy. But that ship has played out. We need to do something other than just cut taxes on wealthy people and businesses in order
Uh,
to have a stable democracy.
Agree. I would distinguish between you go back to the 80s, Reagan's general broad tax
Yeah.
cuts, I think did good. Trump's tax cuts in both his first term and this term were all skewed toward and slanted toward the wealthy.
Yes.
Period. Period.
Well, wait a minute.
Uh,
And you would do something about that.
oh, I would.
So, okay, so
I
like,
dramatically
the water's
oppose that.
fine. I'm glad. Yeah.
No, 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 no. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah.
You and I may have different solutions, but I'm with you. Trump and this Republican Party have skewed it all to benefit the wealthy. That's not what I'm about.
Yeah. And put a real weight on our economy. Look, I'm not a deficit hawk, but I know, look, you
Mhm.
live in Chicago where the pension obligations and the debt we have eat up a lot of it's a drain on what you can do. It's an anchor
Yes.
on what you can
Yes.
do. So the enormous debt that starting with Bush's unpaid for war and now Donald Trump has created more deficit than every president we've ever had.
Doge. Doge.
Doge,
What
yeah.
about Doge?
Yeah, didn't work. This is a weight that's on our kids and our grandkids. That's
And by the way, everybody listening to us, hi, Beth Peters, Trickle Down Reagan. I kind of supported Trickle Down Reagan, but understand here, Edwin and I are different politically and philosophically. We're under the same tent right now. But you put Edwin and I in a room on just this issue of taxation for a weekend, I
will solve the
guarantee,
problem.
no, I guarantee Edwin and I could figure out a solution here, a common ground solution.
Yeah, which is,
And
by the
that's
way, what Congress is supposed to do.
yeah.
You get people with, I mean, you should expect people with different points of view in a country this big, and you're supposed to work that stuff out in Congress.
Do you think and right, we don't have a Congress and Congress really even before Trump kind of stopped doing this. Back when I was in Congress, the battle lines were already drawn and I reached across the aisle a lot to work with Democrats and my Republican leadership would pound me. So they were already saying by then you can't do that.
Yeah, Citizens United broke it.
Um, let's save that because you and I disagree. I wrote a piece on Substack put out this morning. I want your answer on this. Basically, will we recover from these Trump years? Will we make our way back to an America that we all believe in? And my answer is I don't know and I don't think we can. I'm afraid we can't. What's your general take?
It, domestically, we will fix it faster than our place in the world.
Interesting.
You know, we have to have accountability. We really do. And if we do, and we start to rebuild trust in our democracy and in our government, and that is going to require some tinkering on the two-party system, the way we elect people, the gerrymandering problem that has made it so that representatives don't work for people. If we fix Article 1, we have a chance to be that great country again. But our relationship with the rest of the world is so badly damaged. Our word means very little, that anybody is going to say, okay, well, that's one election. You could go back to the next one. It's going to take, 3 elections, 12 years of stable foreign policy where we're, in the world and not just handing it to China or being stupid the way Trump has been, to regain some the credibility we need in the world. And certainly we're not going to be the dominant player that we were before in the same way. We're still a big country. We'll still be important, but we may lose the dollar, as a,
Yeah.
a lot
Well,
of things.
if you're right, then I think the problem is even greater than you and I think, because my former party has full on adopted Donald Trump's basic philosophy of build a wall around America, keep everybody out, brown and black people, and generally stay out of the rest of the world. That's kind of where my former party is now.
Yeah, I left something out of my answer. Part of
What?
healing is that your former party is no longer relevant. And if we break the current system of electing them, the gerrymandered system, they just do not command the popular. They're 30% on their best day now.
Right, but
So
they control maps in a number of states. They can gerrymander in their states just like Democrats do in their states. And Edwin, we're still talking about one of America's two major political parties, and we're
yeah,
still talking.
well,
We're
I
still
said 12
talking.
years.
Okay, and we're still talking about. I think this truism: Democrats are going to win this year because of Trump, only because of Trump. To win in 28, Democrats have to say, this is who we are. They
Mhm.
got to connect with regular people again. Every 2 or 4 years, most Americans stick their head up and they vote for the party they hate the least. As bad as Republicans are, if in 28 they still hate what the Democrats are more, they'll hold their nose and vote for an asshole like
Yeah,
JD Vance.
we need some good candidates for sure that will be able to speak to everybody. And I think we'll get them in a big primary. I do. But I want to talk to you about one other thing that happened here today. We had 6 people indicted in Broadview,
In Chicago?
They were
Broad.
indicted when ICE was here. They were indicted for protesting, and they were charged with a conspiracy, federal charges. Uh, when it turned out that maybe the government had lied to the grand jury, instead of releasing the grand jury, they said, "Oh, you know what? We're withdrawing those charges. They're just some misdemeanors." Today in court, the judge said, show me the grand jury transcripts," and they showed up redacted. And she said, "Show me the unredacted versions." And they came to court and they had a session. It was closed. We don't really know what happened, but the outcome was that the U.S. attorney here said, we crossed a few lines. We're going to drop all the charges. Right? All of them gone. So now we're going to see if the judge will release the unredacted transcripts and the transcripts of our hearing. We don't, as of this minute, I don't know whether they're going to get released. But what this tells everybody in the country, it's so important. We do not live under the rule of law, and we don't. I mean, and I know people think, well, then how come we're alive or something, right? A lot of people live in China. A lot of people live in Russia. I worked in Saudi Arabia. It's not the rule of law the way we understand it. It's ruled by law. The rulers set the rules. They set the law. They decide who goes to jail, right? So Donald Trump and his Justice Department, that's what they do. And that was made completely clear in court today in Chicago, that they are indicting people for protesting with no evidence and no reason. They're making charges up to ruin their lives, to lock them up, and to scare everybody else away. That's the environment that we are in, that we are fighting between now and when we get rid of these guys.
Maybe, Edwin, we make a mistake. Maybe I do when I scream every day we're defending democracy, and I don't emphasize enough that we're also defending and trying to preserve the rule of law.
Get it back, yeah.
Get it back. When the blankets are lifted on this era, virtually everything ICE has done has been illegal. Virtually everything this Justice Department is doing is illegal. What you just talked about reminded me of a piece I read today about the slush fund. Like Trump's original $10 billion lawsuit against the IRS, I'm beginning to think now that was not at all designed to sue the IRS. That was designed to settle with the IRS to get the slush fund. When you look at the timing and how easily the Trump administration just said, okay, we'll drop our lawsuit. And then, like the next minute, here comes the slush fund, here comes the agreement. Again, utterly illegal, but it was all to get his hands on this $1.8 billion.
More than that, because remember, that's what and every alarm bell went off when we saw that. And while those alarms were going off, they quietly put that addendum in, which said,
Yes.
"Oh, and by the way,
By the
we
way,
can never investigate Donald Trump for anything he's ever, or his business for anything he's ever cheated on in his taxes." I mean, unimaginable.
So help me. So two men I know well, Michael Fanone and Harry Dunn, two of the Capitol Hill cops, dropped a lawsuit a couple days ago against the slush fund. I've got to believe that this is going to be adjudicated. Don't you think?
Yes.
Okay. And even the addendum with the IRS, like that's
it's completely illegal, and I don't think he'll get away with it. But there's got to be a penalty for even trying, and
yeah.
Right. I mean, attempted murder, you go to jail. The body doesn't have to be dead.
Beth Peters asked us, can this all be undone? I will honestly tell you, I really don't know. And by the way, Edwin, my favorite founding father, Thomas Jefferson, said, and he wasn't alone, that to keep this thing going, this republic, it's going to take blood and toil and fighting every few generations to keep it going. I've always believed that. We may be in one of those periods right now.
Yeah. We're going to have this conversation because Jefferson's my least favorite founding father. But I did go to Monticello this year to spend some time and try and understand him better. But he's my
remind me, your favorite is?
Washington.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in part because, man, he wasn't as smart as Jefferson or Hamilton or half of those guys. And it didn't bother him one bit. He said, we're going to make a bet. You're going to do the best work. And I'm not going to be worried about that. He was a fabulous leader. Oh my!
And then he walked away.
And he walked
away. Probably did the most important thing any American president's ever done.
Yep. Anyway,
refused the crown.
We have so many things to undo to answer this question.
Yeah.
What's being undone right now is all of the progress of civil rights in my lifetime are being erased. I mean, the idea that they could say, oh, you can't read Jackie Robinson's biography in a military base. You can't read Alex Haley's Roots in a school library. And, oh, by the way, we're going to have no Black elected officials in the South. Louisiana is 1/3 Black, but they can't have an elected official because we can write maps to make sure that never happens. This is entirely racist map making, Joe, that the Supreme Court has allowed in their infinite wisdom by saying that there is no racism in America. I'm going to, as a gift, give John Roberts a mirror so he can begin to find it. So can it be undone? The damage we are doing to the national soul is deep and long, and it will require a different kind of civil rights, not the 1960s anymore. We're not there. It's going to require a very different kind of coming together and moving past the damage that these people are doing.
A 3-word response, white Christian nationalism. I'm not alone, but I've been saying for a long, long time, this is what animates my former party. And it's what's animated a lot of what their domestic policy has been based on.
Yeah, we taxpayers paid for a prayer gathering on the mall. And some of those preachers were preaching an awful lot of hate.
Yeah, they were. A number of those preachers who I used to be colleagues with were preaching an awful lot of hate. And Donald Trump, the president of the United States, stood in front of graduates of the Coast Guard a couple days ago and again, broke another norm, broke another rule, broke another sense of decency, and delivered a politically divisive rally speech in front of these cadets.
So, right. So the areas, I mean, so in this notion that all these different people who are here in America have to find a way to be together here, badly damaged by this guy. The
Yeah.
idea that our military has to be non-political, terrifyingly damaged by this guy. And Pete Hegseth, who found the time while we're at war to go to do a campaign rally, but Donald Trump can't seem to find the time to go to his own son's wedding. I bet he has a golf game he doesn't want to cancel.
I understand the legacy media, but I blame the legacy media for a lot of this because they've normalized his badness over the years. And so I worry, Edwin, you and I've talked, I worry there are so many young Americans who now just think a lot of what he does is just kind of normal. And it's everything but.
No, it's everything but.
Hey, do me
Anyway,
a favor before we close. Because I'm always the Debbie Downer. I'm always the dark-ass Irishman. You're always the one that gives us hope. So close this half hour with some hope, my friend.
oh my God, Joe, I couldn't be happier. I mean, all these challenges we're talking about are real. All the terrible things these terrible people are doing are real. But I mean, if you look at the latest polls, it's not like more Democrats dislike Donald Trump than they did before. His erosion in the polls isn't coming from Democrats who used to like him, not liking him. It's coming from those people who actually are persuadable in America, right? Anybody who can be persuaded has said that, Mr. Trump, sorry, your ship is sailing and I don't want to be on it, right? That makes me very happy. And Congress, I mean, the complete collapse of your former party in Congress, as evidenced today, is a sign that even there's trouble in his house. And when you look at what he's done in elections, he's made it his party. There is no Republican Party that isn't Donald Trump's party, and that is long term fine because that isn't going to win. That isn't going to win. But these people he threw out in order to put in his crowd, they're harder to elect. Now you can elect them in an 90% district, but they're harder to keep elected, and that's just fine.
Everything Edwin said, and this: stay engaged, stay informed, keep resisting, keep your foot on the pedal. Let's make November happen.
Foot on the pedal. Keep your knife at the throat, metaphorically. Metaphorically. But their back is to the wall. We got them where we want them. They have managed to cross every line, and people know it. And by the way, every time you buy gas, just scream as loud as you can, that's Trump's fault, to everybody who's at the gas station.
I would add one twist. Every time you do that at the pump, that's the Republican Party's fault. Whichever one.
Absolutely right.
And then vote against every Republican up and down the ballot in November. Edwin, Thank you.
All right, Joe. See you next week.
Thanks,
Say
everybody.
hi to Joan.
I will.
Thank you for listening. Remember to listen, follow, and share The Social Contract with Joe Walsh on Apple, Spotify. Plus, don't forget to subscribe to The Social Contract on Substack. This has been The Social Contract with Joe Walsh.